Hi guys, welcome back to another video. So as the title states, in this video I will be taking you through the step-by-step process in making a army application for Commonwealth nationals. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. Let's go. So first off, you're interested in joining the army. This is something that you want. Also, there's there's a lot of opportunities that comes with enlisting. So you've made up your mind about this, and that's the first step, is making that decision. Now, even though there's a lot of opportunities that comes with enlisting, it is also important that you actually want to do it, because it's not easy and it's not a means to an end. It's actually hard work, and it takes dedication and it takes commitment. So you have to ask yourself, is this something that I can actually tolerate? Is this something that I actually want? Now you've made that decision, let's take you through the step-by-step process. So the first step is to visit the British Army website. I'll link the website here. Then after you visited the British Army website, you can actually look at the different roles, and just to give yourself an overview of what each role entails, different criterias, etc. Now, when I joined, it wasn't a requirement for you to have GCSEs, CXCs or CXCs, which is it's equivalent, but let me say it wasn't a requirement to have CXCs because I'm coming from Jamaica. In England, it's GCSEs. So it wasn't a requirement. Most Commonwealths were able to join without any formal education, without any formal qualification. So once you've read the overviews, you've chosen a role that you feel best suits your skills, then you can take the next step. What I always say is, even though you probably have a preference, what I did back then, I chose a role that most individuals didn't want to choose, which made the process a bit quicker for me. If you're applying for a role that is quite popular, then of course vacancies would be filled quite quickly. So once you've chosen your role, then you create an account. To do this, you need an email address and all your personal details. Once you've created an account, then you'll be sent an email to activate your account. It's also to check that you've entered your email address correctly. And once you've activated your account, the process pretty much begins from there. Now, what has been happening lately, as I would have said in previous videos, vacancies are quite limited. So a lot of people are getting rejected. However, you keep trying until the application gets accepted. So if you've applied and they've replied to you stating that there's no vacancy available, then you would need to create a new account, which will require a new email address. So once you've created that account and you've heard back from the army, the next step will be providing your medical information, your family information. So once you've done all those questionnaires, then you would need to, and this usually takes 2 to 3 weeks for you to get a medical form. So once you've passed the questionnaires, then you're sent a medical form, and like I said, that's 2 to 3 weeks. So once you're sent your medical, take this medical to your GP, and they'll fill it out. Like they'll fill in all your medical history, and then you would need to, once you've completed that, you would need to send this back to the army. They'll review all the medical details, and once they've reviewed the form and they're satisfied, then you're booked in for a phone interview, because obviously they're recruiting you from the Commonwealth, Jamaica, etc. So once you're booked in for a full phone interview, things go a bit, quite quickly from then. When you get that phone interview, they're pretty much going to ask you about your role. And one of the main things that is of great importance is your BMI. So you need to be in a certain proportion in terms of your BMI, your weight, waist circumference, etc. Once that's okay, then they will book you onto what we call a selection center. Now, a selection center is the most important aspect of your army application, because that is where you get invited to the UK to complete army selection. And as the name suggests, you're basically going to a center for 2 days, sometimes 1 day, where you're conducting different tests, assessments, you name it. You'll do a full medical that day. You'll do some cognitive tests, and then the most difficult task, which most potential recruits fail, which is the bleep test. So when I enlisted, we had the mile and a half run. Now they've changed that since COVID. It's now the beep test, which I think is pretty hard. Some people would say the mile and a half is harder, but I think the beep test is way more challenging because it takes a lot of skills. It takes speed. It takes endurance. So for me, I think the beep test it's way more challenging. However doable. A lot of people have done it and have succeeded in the beep test. So once you've done your army selection, then you're pretty much, if you've passed, then of course you'll progress on to basic training. If you fail, then they'll give you a few more attempts, unless you're not improving in terms of your fitness in order to pass your selection. So that's pretty much where I'll stop in terms of the guide, because everything else from there is conducted in the UK. And that's what I've outlined is the process from Jamaica and getting here. But yeah, I hope that was useful. I just thought that would be quite, interesting to outline that step by step for individuals. Now, I deliberately skipped over the visa process because I wanted to save that for last. Because yes, you do require a visa to enter the UK. For some CARICOM nationals, some Caribbean countries, they don't require a visa. So once they have been booked onto a selection center, then they'll just travel to the UK. But for those who require a visa, you would have to make a visa application. And this is where it gets quite challenging, because you're not technically in the army and you can still fail selection. You are treated as you're treated as a regular visa applicant, which means you have to provide bank statements, job letter, pay slips, the documents that any other applicant who wishes to visit the UK would have to provide. Unfortunately, you would have to make a strong application. The only thing that the military will assist you with is a invitation letter, which does help your application, but it does not guarantee that you'll be granted a visa. So I hope that helps. Hope it also gave a lot of insight. So that's pretty much it for this video. Until next time, Godspeed. Big ups. Bye guys. Bye.